Hi, Anti Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are watching episodes 223 and 224 of Bleach. So, in the last episodes, we were focusing a lot on Soifang and Omaida. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but we were focusing on those two fights primarily. More Soifang, I think in terms of like actual fight, we did have some stuff with Omaida, which was just like comedy slapstick stuff that was going on. I know someone in the comments said that in the manga it was like a much shorter fight. So they kind of drew out that fight a lot more in the anime than it is in like the source material. So that could be part of it too. But that kind of stuff was happening, which was odd, and I don't really know what to do with it. But then we also had Soifeng's fight, which is a little bit more interesting. She definitely seems to be having a bit of a good time, at least for part of it. We did end off the episode with her being thrown at one of the other Arrancar, so maybe she feels differently about her opponent at the moment. So we are hopefully going to be finishing up that fight and probably Omaida's as well, and maybe getting into some of the other fights that are going on. We only have like 5 episodes left in this part of the arc before there's a filler arc, so we're going to be jumping some episodes to get back into like the last part of this Arrancar arc. Oh, the last part. Okay. Just hit me that we're so close to this. But I'm not really sure how much time we're going to focus on this particular fight. Given how some of the past fights have gone, I'm going to say we're going to spend like maybe the first half finishing up this fight, and then we're going to introduce the next one. If I had to guess, I'd say Matsumoto's. Like, I think we're going to be going into some of the fights with the other Arrancar that there are still to fight and not getting into like the Espada quite yet, because I feel like those are like near the end of the arc kind of fights, with the exception of like we're gonna have to deal with Tosen and Gin at some point. I think we might not get into Aizen because he's like definitely final boss material, so we're probably still going to be dealing with him with the arcs that are coming later after the Arrancar arc. So I don't know if we'll get into his fight, but I definitely feel like maybe we're going to focus on kind of the Arrancar, like the lower ranking fights still for right now, and then pick up back with like the Espada coming into the next part of the arc. And also we still have to deal with the fact that like Ichigo and his friends and some of the captains are trapped in Hueco, which is something that are we troubleshooting that? But we also haven't seen Urahara and his kind of gang or Visored for a little bit, so maybe they're working on that because Urahara was the one that like opened up the path for them to get into Hueco. So I assume that he is working on something to reopen that connection so that they can come back. I hope. So let's just get into episode 223 and see where these fights are going to be going. In 3, 2, 1, go. We gotta get through the summary though first. You guys warned me about them though, so yes, we've spent multiple arcs dealing with this. It's crazy to me that like I feel like we spend so much time in the Arrancar arc that the fact that I'm like I'm almost finished this and then there's like one more part to it is a really crazy feeling. Because the Arrancar arc is like such a huge chunk of what Bleach is, as it's like currently been animated. So we're so close to the end. in my brain, like it isn't. Like there's lots of episodes left, and there's like the manga, and there's movies, and there's new stuff that's going to be coming out. And yet I'm like panicking a little bit because I'm like, how will I spend my time when I'm like caught up on Bleach stuff? I guess that's just like where I'm at now as a fan. And I'm sure that people who are fans of it when it like originally aired have been waiting for years for there to be like anything new from it are laughing at me because they're like, you don't even know. It's fair. Yes. It really must be odd for some of the like Soul Reapers to fight Arrancar because like Arrancar themselves are like rare up until this point. Like before Aizen started making a bunch of them, they weren't super common. So like it's one thing to kind of know in theory what something is, and then it's another to like come face to face with it. Let alone like the Espada, which is like a whole different level. And I kind of forgot when we were spending all this time with like Ichigo and his friends that had like an idea of what they were dealing with, that there were other members that like had not fought any. Because even before they went to like Hueco they fought some of them, in Ichigo's hometown. So for like a while, it's been a while of me like getting used to like what Arrancar and how they work and stuff like that. That it slipped my mind that there are just like a bunch of Soul Reapers that have never encountered one in person before. Still unnecessary. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but whatever it is, it's not working. My point. Oof. I get where she's coming from though. Like that she's just like, you're stifling me. I'm like, he didn't even get him within like 5 feet of you. I don't think Saifeng would take it. She's gonna want to beat this guy up by herself. I don't know why I have unwavering confidence that Saifeng will beat this Arrancar out, but I do. Like, I know it doesn't look that way, but she's got this. Maybe I'm just in denial. I don't want any of the captains to be beaten by, like, an Arrancar. Don't you have your own fight? I'm just saying. You didn't defeat your Arrancar. Oof. It has to be like go both ways though. Like if you don't want she doesn't want subordinates to worry about her because she finds that like insulting to her pride, and she can't in turn worry about her subordinates, right? Like she kind of has to trust them to fight to their fullest ability and survive and win the fight, right? They have kind of similar fighting tactics too. She's busy. Oof. The teeth come off of his mask. Oof. He's certainly going through a lot, isn't he? True. Have to win your fight first. If you want to help. If you can help. I mean, it's not good. We've seen some of that previously. Ooh, he did something useful. But she's gonna be mad about him interfering. That's true, there's a lot of momentum put into that. That was actually pretty smart. Ooh, took advantage of the distraction. Yeah. That's a lot of rubble falling out of that building. I feel like she was saying something profound and I should have paid attention to it, and I was distracted by the weird animation. I apologize. I don't know if I like that smile. I would say it's another act. It's a lot of dust to take advantage of. I do love the smack talk in this show. All of that workup, none of the payoff. I knew she could do it. The main fight. He's probably angry that all the subordinates were killed off. Just saying. I thought we were gonna get into some other fights earlier, but it is what it is, you know? I do think they're gonna get into Matsumoto's fight. We'll see in the preview if I'm right. Because she, I think, is the only one that's still fighting Arrancar. Because Toshido is against the Espada. Shinsui and Yukitake are against an Espada. I'm trying to think who else was there. We already saw the other captain fight. I mean, Yamamoto, I guess, isn't fighting anyone. Other than, like, keeping that barrier, the, like, flame prison around Aizen and others. I think that's everyone. They showed the clip of everyone who was there at the beginning of like every episode, and I guess I just haven't been paying enough attention. Maybe if I'm missing someone, but I think that's everyone. So I'm assuming Matsumoto. Ooh. Maybe we might be seeing just like a little bit of the other fights to remind us that they're going on. Was that Momo? Oh, I worry about her so much. I don't want her anywhere near this. I feel like in that episode, we really got to see some of like Soifeng and Omaida's like relationship to each other, or like the way that they interact with each other. And I feel like there's far more nuance to that than maybe I gave credit to before. Because I feel like it's really easy to be like, oh, Soifeng is like a very cold and unfeeling person. And I feel like that's just like not true from what we've seen of her. Like we know how important Yoroichi was to her, and like how important it was for her to stick with the like expectations or like duty that she believed that she had as like being a member of her specific family and stuff like that. She takes that very seriously, and she gets very affected by Yoroichi leaving and people kind of stepping out of what they're supposed to be doing. Like, and I feel that with all the stuff that's happened with Aizen and Gin and Tosen and all this kind of separation of some of the people from Soul Society, I feel like she takes that very seriously too, of her thinking like, as a Soul Reaper, you have a certain duty, you have a certain responsibility as a Soul Reaper, and seeing Aizen and Gin and Tosen go outside of what she kind of sees as a Soul Reaper, I feel like could affect her on a much deeper level than maybe she would outwardly like to express. And we definitely saw lots of clips in there of her kind of showing that she didn't care, or saying that she didn't care about Omaida and her subordinates in general, but I feel like she definitely does worry, and she does like have that connection even if maybe she doesn't want to. Like I feel like she's a far more compassionate person than she would like to be seen as from other people, or that she would like to be personally. And interesting that Omaida also seemed to have some concern for her as well. I don't know if that is self-preservation, as Soifeng put it, or if it's an actual connection between them. I feel like they do have more camaraderie between them than maybe first appears. Like I know way back in Soul Society when we first got introduced to them, I was like, wow, that's a very like cold and distant relationship between those two. But now kind of seeing them interacting in this episode, there definitely seems to be more nuance to exactly what their relationship is to each other. I'm not saying it's like functional or healthy, but there definitely seems to be more to it than simply the disconnection that Soifang uh, seems very stubbornly holding on to when she talks about how she feels about her subordinates. And it looks like we maybe at least will get a little bit of the Espada fights, kind of maybe some of the lead up to those. I think we are definitely going to see Matsumoto's fight coming up. Probably this episode, maybe another episode, which still leaves 2 episodes. I don't know if we'll get through the Espada that quickly. I mean, maybe we'll, like, I don't know, an episode each. Like, we'll have, like, Matsumoto's fight and then, like, the 3 Espada. That seems very quick, though. We just spent, like, 2.5 episodes with Soifang and Omaida. So, I feel like that's too quick. I feel like maybe we'll get some preliminary stuff, like some of the lead up to the actual fights with the Espada, but we're not gonna like get into like the real heart of those fights, I think, until we like come back. But I could be wrong. You could all be laughing at me because I'm completely off with my prediction. Because we do still have to deal with Ichigo still in Huecomundo and all the stuff that's going on there. But I feel like maybe that'll be like a, hey, let's deal with that at the beginning of this part of the arc for a few episodes, and then we'll get back, and then everyone will kind of be in the same place to deal with like the top 3 Espada and like Aizen, Gin, Tosen, and all that stuff that's going on. Maybe? I've made wrong predictions before, so I'm totally fine with being wrong about things, but let's just get into episode 224 and hopefully get to see some of what Matsumoto's got going on, and possibly Momo, who we saw maybe a little clip of, which just fills me with anxiety. I have so much like protective mother energy from Momo, but let's just get into episode 224. In 3, 2, 1, go. Yes, all of the recap. It's fine. In their defense, I am watching these episodes, 2 at a time, daily, and have to wait a week for them to come out. So, fair enough that they're putting in some summaries. I'm sure if I had to watch it like once a week, but also like had to wait for filler arcs to be over if I like just didn't want to watch them. Even if you did watch them, like you're leaving the main plot, that having the recaps might be useful, but binging them like I am, it's just sort of like, I don't know, I get impatient. I'm gonna get Jasper though, because if Momo is in this, I'm not ready. It's gonna be too many emotions for me. I feel it coming. Leave it to Soifang though to like go through all this just so she can fully understand like what an Arrancar can do so that when she fights an Espada, she has a better understanding of what's going to be involved in that fight. So much for the dramatic, true form, only for Soifang to just, well, you know, effortlessly one handed. Yes, Matsumoto, show me her fight. And while I think she will struggle with this fight like she already is, I also have confidence in her. Can't explain it. I feel like she's got a lot more strength than these Arrancar might give her credit for, but I also think pure determination is something that she can take full advantage of. Oof. Right in the face, though. Are we catching up with everybody where they're at in their skirmishes? Uh oh. That quick movement, though. I feel bad for those two fighting each other because they have like such similar vibes that it almost seems wrong to make them fight each other. It's like, that seemed like Momo. Oh dear. I'm very nervous about her being here. Did Aiza know up to this point that she was still alive? Like, she'd survived him trying to kill her? Because I just assume that he knows everything. Yeah, Toshiro would be affected by her showing up too. Focus, though. Yeah, I hope she's doing better. And in less denial. Good girl. Easy to say though when he's like not in front of her though. Yeah, he isn't the captain, right? She's still thinking of him as a captain though. We'll see about that. She was really good at keto though, wasn't she? Back when we saw her at the academy. That's a cool attack though. Yeah, I'm like, there's probably signs that he's used to fighting with two weapons. I love how it's like almost like a gentleman's fight between the two of them. Like there's a certain amount of like respect between them. Ukitake just hanging out, waiting for his time. Like Ukitake's like, I'll send you home. Like, listen here, small child. Oh. Ooh, the gleam in his eye, though. He's ready for this fight. Also, Stark has very matte eyes, like irises. I wonder what that's about. It has to be a conscious decision. Is it just to like make him look bored? She's very good with keto. She's so sweet. It's all gonna come crumbling down when she sees Aizen, isn't it? I love that she's so determined too. Some ultimate attack, I'm assuming combining their powers. Is it taking a form of some kind? They have made some kind of avatar thing to fight them? Isn't that what we saw in the Ender? If I remember? I mean, I don't have to remember for long, where I just see it, but I remember thinking, like, oh, we've seen all the release forms except this one at the end. So I'm assuming this is kind of like the last form reveal we're gonna get in this part of the arc. Unless we get more into the Espada, which could possibly happen. Ugh, I don't know why I was yawned now during these reactions. So those were the Force 3, then the ones that Matsumoto's fighting, the other two. Yeah, and then the last one is this like weird avatar thing. Oh, we might get Ukitake's fight because he's technically fighting an Arrancar as well. I love his Zanpakuto. It's the way it's like not the design necessarily, but the way that he uses it that I think is really cool. We got to see a lot more of what was going on with the other fights than I thought we would. Like we got to see Shinsui's fight with Stark a lot more than I thought we were going to get into, and some very interesting character stuff with Shinsui. Definitely already got the vibe, which I talked about during the like flashback arc that we saw, that there's definitely some more like mystery to Shinsui than might seem. We had lots of times with his hat kind of shading his eyes, and we all know that obscuring the eyes, putting the eyes in shadow, is always a sign that someone's hiding something. Because if you can't see their eyes, you like, eyes being like the gateway into someone's soul, you can't see like their true intentions, is kind of the idea, especially in animation. So lots of times where we couldn't see his eyes, definitely got to see more of him and some of his kind of interactions of how he was going about the fight. I love the detail of him being like ambidextrous with his fighting, because he does normally, when he's like fully going all out in his fights, he has two weapons. So the fact that he just switches between hands without really thinking about it is a really cool detail to give him in his fighting style, and obviously a good tell for Stark that he actually did use both of his swords while they were fighting. Like, just, I love little details like that where like you can kind of gauge what someone's fighting style is like by like any kind of weapon they're choosing to use. Like even if they aren't going full out, you can kind of get hints of it. I love having those little details with his fighting style and his character. And it looks like I think we're probably going to get into Ukitake's little fight with this Arrancar that is with Stark, is a way of like having fights with Arrancar. Like I was kind of saying, like, it's a long time to kind of stretch out Matsumoto's fight to have like 4 episodes about it. But I'm like, I don't think we'll get into the Espada fights like in any real depth, because it seems like something we're gonna save to like fight the last 3 Espada in like the last part of the Arrancar arc. So, bringing in someone for Ukitake to fight with, I feel like is gonna be kind of able to kind of lengthen out some of the fighting that's happening with just Arrancar as opposed to fighting the Espada. But we do have Hinamori Momo coming in to fight. I'm so worried about her. She's doing great though. I don't want to discount anything, okay? Her coming in and being like, I'm not here's a subordinate to Aizen is growth. It's good. She did call him Captain Aizen, which is like not where we want to be, but one step at a time. We can't expect her to just be better automatically. But there was definitely some determination. She seemed a lot better headspace with this and holding her own, doing some cool stuff. I love that like web thing that she had with the different kinds of keto, and then was able to like use her weapon to kind of like use that as a track for the flames that she was making. Really, really cool. And the way that Matsumoto was talking about it, of how she was able to use all these different kinds of keto together in a really interesting way to be able to pull off that attack. And we've seen with flashbacks to the academy that she's really good at keto, so I like that she's bringing some of the ingenuity and really showing off that she is very skilled and she does know her particular fighting style really, really well. So I like getting to see that. I'm worried about her actually having to see Aizen though. Like, he knows she's there, and I feel like just seeing him will affect her. Like, it's one thing for her to be like, I'm not here as his subordinate, to just say that. Also, it's another thing to be face to face with him and have to like say that that is not the person that I idolize anymore, because it very much was this kind of idolization of Aizen that Hinamori had that is very, very different from just like, a superior and a subordinate. So I'm nervous about that happening. I'm sure that that's going to be something that she has to go through, and maybe it'll be what she needs to kind of let go of that in a more like permanent way, but I wish she didn't have to, I wish she didn't have to go through something painful like that. But sometimes you do have to face something head on to properly deal with it. And in the next video, we're going to be finishing off this arc, so very excited to kind of finish off this little part of it and then get into the last part of the Arrancar arc, which is going to be where all the intense stuff happens. And maybe we will figure out what's happening with Ichigo. Remember when the show used to be about Ichigo? It's been a long time since we saw him. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions to this part of the arc, or you can subscribe. I post new Bleach episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!